Happy New Year, bitches!
Happy New Year!
We are back!
Woo! 2024.
2024. I feel really good about it for some reason. But before we get into it, let's pop
I know, I was
bottles.
like, dang, I thought we were going to have a drink first.
Okay.
Normally what we do. But it's all good. Going with the flow. Woo! That's a party. Yay.
Oh, shit.
Okay. And you know what? Hey, don't people do bubble baths? Champagne baths? We're just rolling with it. I know, I left
That's
the towel.
sexy, actually.
I left our towel. I had one. It's fine. I'm not getting up. We're not
getting up.
Fuck
Oh,
it.
shit. My eyelashes
We gotta
together.
fix eyelashes. We totally have it together for 2024. We're just rolling in the way we are.
You know what? This is what happens when I try to get fancy. My body rejects it.
It's okay. We got bubbles, so in a moment, nothing will matter. It'll just be all about fun, which is actually, speaking of fun, our word for 2024. We were told by a psychic, remember, if you listen to that episode,
Yes.
that we are going to be having a lot of fun this year. So this is the kickoff to that.
Hell yeah.
Right? Cheers, my friend.
I need more.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, okay.
One more cheers.
One more cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. We are so excited, as we said, for 2024. But, you know, one of my big goals, outside of having fun, of course, is I want to engage with our audience a little more. You know, I want to ask questions. I want feedback from all of you guys. All of that stuff is so important to us, I think, in growing our podcast. And you can do that through reviews, through comments. You can send us emails. There's lots of ways to stay connected. Our website will be launching in 2024. We'll ask if you'd like to subscribe and get just up-to-date information, retreats that we put on. I mean, so many things that we're doing, but we want to hear from you.
Yes, we've been busy little elves
Yes, we
during the
have.
holiday season, getting the podcast to the next level for
Yeah.
2024. You all have been so great in your feedback and just telling us you're loving the conversations that we're having and you want more. And so that's just so inspiring and encouraging to us to keep moving forward and elevating. So we just hope you come with us, share with your friends, you know, tell everyone you know.
Please. And it's fun. I mean, as we're looking at statistics, we're in all these different countries, like over 40 countries.
Yes.
I was counting the other day and we're like in the mid 40s. So it's kind of cool that this is just reaching so many different types of people. And we're looking at age ranges and all of that stuff. And so anyway, we just want to stay connected and continue to reach more people. And you are such a big part of that.
Yes. So how was your break other than working on the podcast stuff, which we both were real busy doing that, and that's exciting stuff. But another reason we took a break was to just kind of get reconnected with our family, holidays, all of that, you know, because that's priority number one for both of us, always.
It is. So the break's been awesome. My kids, as you know, like are crazy busy with cheer. And so one does comp, one was doing high school cheer. We're on a little bit of a break from high school cheer, but then it's like stunt starts up. So there's clinics, and that same child ended up getting a job, which was really cool. Newer news is my son, who went off to ASU, came back home.
I feel like you knew it all along.
I did, but
I
you know
think
what?
this Portuguese mama wasn't ready to let her baby go.
I don't know.
I'm
My
kidding.
Portuguese mom was definitely not ready to let her grandbaby go. That's a for sure. But you know what? That also can be a whole nother like follow-up conversation when, you know, as the year goes by and we're talking about updates with that. But you know what? I do want to just say this because I have talked to so many people, and you know what? I'm not the only one. So this is the fun thing about sharing stories.
Yeah.
And when I do share with them about this new development, actually crazy doors have been opening, so many opportunities for my son. So I just want to say to all you mamas, like, it's the end of the year, and as you reflect back, or beginning of the year, I should say, but as you reflect back on the last year, you know, things that didn't go as planned, it's all good. Pour yourself a glass, hang out with your girls, and you know what? Something else is opening up for you or your child or your husband or your friend, like whatever. It's all good.
It's all happening for you all the time. And I think that's my big, aside from fun, because fuck yeah, we're going to have fun. We are going to have fun. But I really, from the depths of my soul, believe that everything is happening. It's working for the greater good. And we love to put, you know, label things as bad or good. They just are what they are. And if you can see the message in it, and I'm sure there's scenarios that are heartbreaking that, you know, you can say like, no, there's nothing good about this. And that's valid. And I understand that if you're in that place. But there is this unfolding in this life that we know nothing about. We don't know what is around the corner and what the future holds and the purpose. And even when you're talking about just maybe something that's really sad or negative, you don't know how that story is now impacting somebody else and changing their life.
Absolutely.
So you just don't know, and you just got to roll with it and enjoy it as much as you can. Absolutely. This life is full of lessons and magic and twists and turns, and we just don't know the outcome. So we can't label it.
But I love that our podcast allows us to have a place where we can share these experiences, because had I not have opened up about why my son came home, and it's nothing bad, like actually he made some very big grown-up decisions, and for that I am so proud. But by sharing the story with other people, oh my gosh, like, we are not alone in this life. We are not alone. And each story that is shared on this podcast, I hope gives you that sense, whether you relate with what we're talking about or, you know, on one episode, you may or may not, but the next one might really speak to your heart.
Yeah.
And this is why we keep on doing what we're doing. It's for these moments. And so, hey, life doesn't always go as planned.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But
I love that we didn't even really plan talking about this, but I think it's a great topic. And when you said that, it made me think about how often we create these little stories in our minds. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to go this way. If it doesn't go this way, then it's all falling apart and it's a mess. And again, with the labeling things good or bad. And when it comes especially to our children, we have to, there's not one way. No. There's not just, you got to go to college, go away, have this experience. If you don't, I mean, I remember really believing that when I was younger, when I was a younger mom. Oh yeah, my kids are going away to college. They're going to have the college experience. They're going to have the experience that's meant for them.
That's right. And it's okay to change your mind about things. I think that's the other piece of this, is that whether we're a parent and we have this whole, you know, plan laid out for our child, or our child goes into something, you know, it's hard because there's so many different ways that families do things. And so I never want to say that, you know, oh, my way is the right way, because it's not. But I think honoring our children's feelings and listening to them, like really listening to their reasons why, before we jump into, oh no, I just paid all this money. Oh no, this was the plan. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, Greta, you know, when my son chose to come back home, you know, he was like, I'm going to do business marketing. That was kind of like what, you know, he was throwing out there, because he really didn't know what else he was really interested in. Now he's taking classes, not even talking about, he's online taking cybersecurity classes, bioinformatics, which I didn't even know what the hell that was, but he's in some Stanford sponsored program now. And that's what I mean by, this isn't traditional. This is getting certifications before like college starts. Yeah. But he's going to walk away after he starts his community college in a specific industry that he didn't even think he had an interest in. And now pretty much has a career path laid out for him. Yeah. That would not have happened if his decision to come home, you know, if he didn't get to that place and I didn't accept that, right. Instead of saying, no, our plan was for you to be in another state at this other school to have that experience. Yes. It's not for everyone. So
as you're talking, I'm thinking, it's okay to have visions, right? We're all entering into 2024 with visions of how we want the future to go, visions for our career, family life, goals, dreams. That's great. That's wonderful. You should have that. But I think the message is you don't need to get married to it.
Right.
Like you can see it and picture it, but allow other things to come. Because if you just locked him down where he was, no, you can't come home, like that's not honoring how he was feeling in that moment. And ultimately, we need to show our children love and that they can always come home and that we will always be there for them. And you know what? We can't ignore the fact that it's been a weird last couple years with COVID and kids. Like, I have my friend Jamie, who we've had on the podcast, shared with us that kids have been going through some stuff. She teaches 5th grade, and it's like the kids coming in were at a 2nd grade level because they missed 2 years of actual, going to school, learning in person. And not every kid, not that this was your son's issue, but a lot of parents I know can relate to this. Not every kid learns well online. They need to be in the classroom. And that's just their way that they learn best. I think that's a majority of people, actually.
Yeah. And we really learned a lot about that from our past podcast with Jamie and with Christine. We had a psychologist on. And so even just talking about what happened during that time and the developmental delays for some kids, and that could even be maturity. So anyway, I think that it was important to bring up because that was a big thing that happened in our family. And I'll say this, as that unfolded, my husband and I had to have some conversations about how we were going to guide him moving forward. And so, excuse me, with that said, I'll talk about another experience that we had, which was amazing. So my husband found
Champagne
out.
First.
I know, this deserves a quick little drink, right? So my husband found out about this amazing retreat.
I love that he found it. I love that he found it.
I know. Eddie's so good that way. And we've gone to marriage retreats in the past. This was a little different. This was called a couples intensive, and it was intense. So just to break it down, first of all, has anyone seen 9 Perfect Strangers? Do you remember that
You
show?
told me about it, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend that.
So,
it was HBO, I think, with Nicole Kidman, or maybe it was Netflix. But
I think I saw it on like Peacock or something. I don't know.
Okay, but Nicole Kidman is the star.
Yeah, so look it up.
It's good.
It was not exactly that experience.
Thank God.
We did not microdose while we were there. Although,
Man,
I
that would've
know.
cool.
I'm like, that could have turned it up to a whole nother level. But needless to say, the environment that was created in terms of hand over your phones, no electronics.
Just that alone right there.
Yeah.
We are so conjoined with our phones, and
it's no bueno. Well, you know what?
It's no bueno.
The cool thing about this was this is an intensive, and it was a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. This was a big chunk. This could have been like a fantastic vacation on a beach in Hawaii. I don't know, wherever you want to go. But it was more than that because we did get to retreat, but we also got really deep and connected.
And focused.
And what I love is when people ask us wow, how did you feel walking away from this? We both felt like not that new information came to the surface that we didn't know about each other because we've been together since I was in high school. But it was a deeper understanding of why we react the way that we do, or just even hearing the person's deep thoughts about, this is who I am and this is how I've grown. And to create space for that was huge. But everything was super experiential. So it wasn't like we sat on a couch and the therapist was there and it's like, oh, tell me your problems. No, it was like, okay, stand up, face each other. I want the timeline of your life from when you got together. So what were some of the major events? And we're physically moving with each other. Wow. So you're feeling, and then she had us holding certain things that represented different events or things like that. So again, it was almost like really embodying what you were going through. So that's kind of how we started. The crazy thing is there are people from all over the country, and they find a therapist that is like perfect for you.
Is that from filling out online, like questionnaires and
Yes.
things? Okay.
So before
That's
you
cool.
even arrive, you are talking to somebody like an intake person. You put some information down on paper. And so from what they've gathered, they will go and find someone. So our lady was from Missouri. And, you know, she comes out in yoga pants and like a bandeau on her head. And I'm like, I hope that one's mine.
Yeah.
That one's mine. And it was.
Of course it was.
It was. And
you filled out your little questionnaire.
I was honest. I was
yoga
honest.
pants.
Yeah, exactly. I need relaxed.
A little bit of hippie vibe. We need
little
that.
hippie vibe
Yeah.
for sure. So they match you up with someone. Now, there are some people at this retreat who are there individually, and you're not in session with them. You might start out in the beginning of the day in a group. So just to quickly break it down, it kind of looked like this. You wake up in the morning, breakfast is at 7:30. You can choose to eat with everyone else who's at this retreat, or you can go off on your own. 8 o'clock, meditation. You choose to be part of that or not. 8:30, session. And usually this is where everyone comes together, and you can sit wherever you want. You don't have to be next to people you don't know. And somebody is up in the front who's leading this, and they might be talking about codependency or trauma, how our brain functions, information, so that you can truly understand how we're wired, how we come into the world. This is all, again, very experiential. So you can choose to volunteer or not, but everything that they do is people showing an example of what they're talking about. So it's not just like somebody up there lecturing the whole time. It's pretty fascinating. After that, you get a break, and then you go meet with your individual therapist. So that's the lady, the yoga lady. So we have a couple hours with her.
And there is an option to share a therapist with a couple other
No.
Because
No.
what you signed up for was just you have the one
Yes,
therapist.
there were some people that were there by themselves, but part of a group therapy process. So they all shared one.
Got it.
But then there are some people who come to this by themselves, and they get their own therapist too. So they do
There
a
are
lot.
options.
There's a lot of different
Yeah.
options. Yeah. So then you go to lunch, and then you come back and you meet with your therapist again. So the cool thing about this is in traditional therapies, you might be sitting down for an hour, 45 to 50 minutes, talk. Okay, maybe you just got into a really freaking heated topic.
Right, triggered something. We all have those couple arguments that just never really
Yep.
get resolved, right? Yeah, and
But when you're in an office for an hour, what happens? Ding, ding, ding. Time is up. Bye. We'll see you next week. Or
and then you got to go home with that.
you have to leave with that. Okay, this is not that.
And I find that what I do is just to not have to have an argument is we just sort of avoid it at that point. You don't like, I want to have a beautiful day. I don't want to fight about this thing that we can't seem to resolve ever. So we just don't talk about it. I think a lot of couples do that.
Yes.
So
Yes. But then what happens?
comes up again.
We're stuffing
Hamster
it down.
wheel.
Yep. And then it comes out with the next comment or the next look or the next scenario that comes up. So in this case, let's say you and I were having kind of a deep, heated discussion, and, you know, maybe tears are welling up in your eyes and I'm holding my breath. The therapist will recognize those things. Okay, let's stop for a minute. Do we need to take a walk? Do we need a break?
Get the emotions to calm down so that you can actually get somewhere.
Yes, what's coming up for you? And you don't have 5 minutes. You have as much time as you need
That's fucking cool.
to walk through this process. So after that, you go on another break, and at some point there's dinner. And then at night, there's optional things. So you could do art therapy, candlelight yoga. I mean, we had all these like s'mores.
Whatever you want to do.
Whatever
it's
you
not
wanna
like
do.
you are forced to do these things, which would be hard for me. Yeah.
Not at all. And so, I mean, and the property itself, we were in San Diego. They have another one in Tennessee, which I think would be really cool. That's their bigger property. But there's hiking, there's a pool, there's tennis. I mean, it's recreational. So at any time, if you just want to lay out in the grass by yourself and look up at the sun and the stars, like, you do what you want to do.
So how did that translate into real life? Because I know that with my husband and I, we always do amazing on vacation. I know that's not what this was. You were working on things through it, but also had the fun stuff mixed in. But yeah, whenever we go away, we're our best selves. I don't know, for some reason you remove the children and the work stress and the daily grind, and we're just amazing.
Totally. Well, couple things. I think going into this, you know that it's not just the vacation.
Yeah.
So already your mind is like, what are we going to be doing? You know, so there's already a little like excitement, anxiety, like all these things kind of showing up. So it's almost like you do kind of gravitate towards each other because you're like, we're in a foreign environment here. We don't know any of these people. So you're already kind of like teaming up together, right? And so I think for everyone, the hardest thing is transitioning. So once you've gone through the process, and I do want to talk about one thing in a minute. So remind me, I want to talk about the horse therapy because this was freaking fascinating. Have I even told you about the horse therapy? Oh my God. Okay. We'll get to that in a moment because I want to address your question because it's a really good one. So while you're there, again, it's all guided. So it's not like you're freely doing whatever you want all day long. So it's very purposeful. Whereas when you go on vacation, you're like, do we want to snorkel today? Do we want to zip line? You know, that's all fun and great, but no one's telling you to like answer this question or literally we're like doing activities where it's like the wounded windows, you know, like looking back at your life from 0 to 15 and coming up with scenarios that you felt were wounds, past wounds for you. So, I mean, this is very focused, intentional, very purposeful.
Yeah.
So when you're in those spaces, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So you bring it home with you. It doesn't just, I think that's more what my question was. Like you can have this great experience there but where you have a therapist. Yeah. Then you got to go home and you have to follow through and practice what you learned while you were there.
And I'll be honest, that is definitely part of the challenge. They do give you tools and all the things we worked on. We chose to bring them home because we wanted reminders.
You both had the same intention and desire for the end result of this. You both went into it. And I think that's really important. You know, if you have a spouse that is not as invested in the marriage, is not willing to put that effort into, you have the end result be that you guys are going to be together and you're going to work through it. I think that's critical because you could spend all this money and you could do all of this, but you really ultimately can only control you.
Yes.
And so the fact that both of you were totally, fully invested in the outcome of
yes, but
working.
I'll add this because this is really interesting. There were 3 couples total that were there. In addition, so there were 17 people at this retreat. 3 of us were couples. 1 couple is getting divorced. And the guy on day 2, it was the woman actually who asked for it. But on day 2, the guy left. But here's the thing. The woman stayed and then she got one-on-one therapy to really process and work through this big decision that she had just made. So I'll tell you, it is literally like you just have somebody holding your hand. Now, coming home, you know, back into the busyness of life. But while you're there, you can take time to do some planning.
Back to that, though, real quick. Again, everything is happening for you. That was happening for her, whether she chooses to see that or not. Hopefully with the therapy, that intensive one-on-one therapy she got after he left. I mean, that had to be devastating when you're really hoping like this could save it. This could be the thing. And then your husband leaves. On day 2, you said?
Day 2.
Oh.
Yeah. Although she's the one that asked for divorce. So
she saw something came to light during that
absolutely.
experience.
Yes.
If that's what it took, you know?
But you know, the cool thing too is Eddie and I chose, I'm a very social person and I like meeting new friends.
You remind me of Steve that way.
So I had to
I'm like, I have enough friends.
I had to be really conscious though about not engaging with a lot of the other attendees that were there because I wanted to go into hypnotherapy mode with them and be like, tell me about your life.
Yeah.
And, you know, start doing that. And B, I just wanted to hang out and like have fun. There was no alcohol there. There's no, you know, I mean.
Yeah.
So
everything was raw and real as it gets.
Yeah. So, and you're seeing people's anxieties come up as they're participating or off on their own or whatever. So I chose to not get to know people because I wanted this time to really just be about Eddie and I.
Yep.
So even for a couple of breakfasts, we sat with groups for breakfast, and then there were a few days where we're like, okay, dinner we're doing on our own. We need to process. Yeah. Yeah.
I know Steve has to do that with me sometimes too.
It's hard.
He has to reel it in a little bit.
Reel it in.
It's when you're social and you love interacting. But, I've been at dinners where this was back in the day and we had conversations about it where Steve, his head was turned the whole time. He was talking to somebody else, a stranger. And I would have loved to talk with him, not the person to my right.
Okay, Eddie.
So
thanks for bringing this up right now. But no,
that was a conversation I had to have with Steve. I really wanted to have that dinner with you.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you. You're my person.
Yes. And you know what? Things like that did come up in our session. So the great thing is, again, the therapist is there and they gave us some tools, communication tools, which are a big deal, that we could take home with us.
Communication.
Right?
Oh my God.
The big C. The big C word. But super crucial in a relationship. Yeah. And then the other piece is, and this was voluntary again, but somebody was like, one of the attendees said, you know what? Who wants to give out their number and a way to stay connected? So this was actually kind of cool because we do have a big text message going and there are quite a few people that are like, whoa, today's just a really hard day. And then someone will send something that's inspirational from the retreat.
It reminds me of our retreats. Yes. How a group came together and started texting each other positive things when we needed it and people reached out.
Because at the end of the day, like any therapy that you go through, any retreat style where you're working on something, community is so important.
Yeah. And you're vulnerable, more vulnerable than you've been maybe with people that you're closest to in your regular life.
Yeah.
So there's a special bond that's formed for sure.
There is. And even though we weren't in session together, just being present and knowing that we all felt this desire to be better.
Yeah, you had that experience, that shared experience.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to tell you about horse therapy because you would absolutely love this.
Would I?
Oh, yeah. These horses. Okay, first of all, let's just put it out there. I am not an animal person. I'm not an animal person at all. And so the fact that they picked us to do horse therapy, I'm like, really? Like somebody had sound bath, someone had massage. I'm like, what the freak? How did I get stuck with
They probably
horse
wanted
therapy?
to do something different for you.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, gosh, this was hours and hours. Okay, so I'm going to try to condense this into a hella short little story.
Don't leave out any of the good stuff.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, so our therapist, who we were working with the entire time, goes with us and another therapist who specializes in horse therapy, equine therapy. So we go down to this ranch and there are 4 corrals. And the first assignment, after they gave us a little briefing on don't stand behind the horse, just some safety issue things, which I didn't know.
Yeah, you don't want to get your teeth kicked in.
No, I would really be like, I am not interacting with any animals ever again. This is it. So they gave us some information and also just about how horses are very in tune creatures and how their eyes can almost see all the way around them. And
because they're on the side of their head.
Yeah.
And also they can hear your heartbeat from I forget how many miles away, but it's far.
A lot.
Yeah. A lot. Mm-hmm. That's our scientific term for that.
Lot. A lot of miles. So, so the first thing was come down the corral and start to just notice each horse. So there were 4 and notice how the horse responds to you. So I'm like, okay, we're seeing our horse number 1. I'm like, oh, and I didn't know it was a girl, but I was like, she seems kind of cool. She's a little smaller than the rest of the horses. And she's looking at us and staring, but calm and chill. Horse number 2, freaking snorting, growling. I'm like, what in the hell? I found out it was a male, but big muscle, the way his whole body moved was so aggressive.
Powerful.
Yeah. See, and I'm aggressive. So that's what was already coming up for me, right? So we had to stop and talk about this. Okay, what's coming up for you?
Oh,
okay.
I love this kind of shit.
Oh, it was so good. So the horse number 3 and 4, they were okay, but they weren't really engaging with us. They were just kind of doing their own thing and they'd look and then they turn around. So we're like, they don't seem interested. So we go to horse number 1. So the first thing is the horse comes up. So she just kind of came up on her own, and she puts her little head over the fence, and she just keeps staring at me.
She's curious.
Like she's staring into my soul. And I'm like, why isn't she looking at anyone else? How come like this horse just keeps looking at me?
Wow.
So Eddie goes up and starts petting, and I didn't even know if I really wanted to even touch the horse. So I'm just observing, you know? So they're like, hey, do you guys want to go in and work with this horse? I'm all, well, if it's between like yes,
the snorting
like
one.
I cannot do that. No, but I'll go into this one fine. So we go in. So as we're there, they're like, hey, do you want to pet the horse? Right. So Eddie's like, sure. So he goes up and she's just chilling. But she's still kind of looking at me.
Wow.
And then at one point, do you want to walk it? Eddie's like, yeah. So he's walking, and they're just roaming around like everything's good. And so they come back, and Michelle, do you want to try this? I'm all, okay, I guess, because everything looked well there, right? So it was so funny because, again, little things about horses, you're supposed to kind of be a little bit in front of them, and you look forward because they go where your eyes go. So that was interesting because I kept looking back, and then she's kind of turning.
Oh, they really mirror us.
Yeah,
then. Like
they
even
do.
more, or as much as dogs. I mean, I know dogs really look at every expression on our face, and
they do. It's really fascinating. So I'm walking, and then I felt like she was kind of pushing me off to the side, and I'm all, I don't know where to go right now. Like I'm looking at the trainers, and I'm like, what do I do? And they go, just walk. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like starting to go into the fence now. So I just start walking in a circle. So I'm like standing in a circle. I have the horse's little rope, and literally the horse is just going like in circles around me. And I'm just talking out loud. I don't know what to do right now. I'm just walking in a circle.
You're in the middle and the horse is going around. I was picturing at first, I was picturing you both walking in a circle, but.
Well, kind of. And then it stopped. Like it was just a whole thing that happened. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So they're like, Michelle, stop. So anyway, we gathered and they're like, how was that experience for you? And I go, I felt a little out of control. Like I didn't know.
I think that's what brings that. Yes. The out of control feeling is what I don't love about horses to me. Like you have to really.
You have to be.
Take charge.
And that's where, okay. So this was also interesting because then this was all related to the marriage. Eddie tends to be the one to take control naturally. So like when he went in, he kind of went
very
in kind
traditional.
of alpha.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was like, this is what we're doing, right? But when the horse, at one point, the horse had stopped and he's trying to figure out how to pull it, you know, like, hey, this is what we're doing. So that was kind of interesting too, because we talked about how in a relationship, if the other person doesn't want to do the same things that you want to do, by forcing them or like, you know, this is why you should do this, it doesn't work that way. So how do we communicate?
That touches on everything we just talked about leading up to this point, how you can't control another person. You're only responsible for yourself, even when it comes to your children, when your adult children, when they're little. Yeah.
Now, really quick, so Eddie decided he wanted to work with horse number 2. And I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, hold on.
All that smell testosterone.
Yes. Because he was like, this horse is nice, but I want that one. And
he wanted the
why?
power and to see what it would do. He was curious, probably.
And as we first went in, this horse came right up, starts nudging his whole head into Eddie's chest, like pushing him. And to me, I'm like, I don't even want to be in here with this horse. Like,
they're very big.
They're huge.
You're tiny.
Like, he's unruly. Like, he's going to hurt me, you know? And so Eddie kept trying to sort of like handle the horse, you know? And, but he was a little nervous, but in his mind, he's like, I will get control of this. So again, I can talk about this for hours and hours, but to kind of sum it up, what we came to the conclusion is in our relationship, when like Eddie wanted to show that horse so much love because he's like, he's coming at me a certain way, but I'm just going to control him and love him and give him all this energy, right? And when he comes into our relationship like that, I am like, whoa, too much, back up. So even in your scenario, talking about being out somewhere and maybe, you know, me being Steve, right?
Yeah.
It's like talking to the strangers and super connecting and having this whole conversation. Eddie's energy towards me is like, what about me? And here I am and da-da-da. And when he does that, I tend to go, whoa, that's you're asking too much from me. It's too much.
It feels controlled.
Yes.
You don't want to feel controlled.
So my conversation, for example, with that other person is like, I can choose to walk away from here anytime.
It feels a little more like you can be in control of that conversation.
So many things as to how we were interacting with these horses came back to issues in our own relationship and how we were going to better deal with those things. So whatever came up, so here again is the cool thing. Whatever comes up, you take it to the room now with your therapist and you dive into some of that.
I would love this. I know the thought of this like freaks a lot of people out, a marriage retreat like that, but I just think how fun. I love digging in though. I love going deeper, clearly.
I mean, but
I think it sounds awesome. We should definitely have the link in our notes for people who are, thinking about doing something like this. That sounds awesome.
That was years of therapy. And it was fun. That was the other piece of this. The moments, yes, things got a little bit hard and, of course, emotions are going to come up, but you have someone guiding you through. So you're not just left alone to figure out how do I deal with all these things. You're walking through it. And if at that moment you want to say nothing, that's your choice. So that's the thing I think that is so powerful about this process is they've been doing this for years and years and years. Like these people know what's up. They know what works. And it's definitely given us a whole new found love and understanding for who we are.
Yes. And you have all these tools now that you can use. And really, it's such an investment in your marriage. And I know a lot of people, even when they think about the cost of therapy, because we've talked about that, it's expensive. A lot of times you can't get your insurance to cover a good therapist, unfortunately. I've had my own experience with that. Like, where do they find some of these people?
Yeah, seriously.
It's rough. And so, we ended up having to just go out of pocket. But ultimately, what's the most precious thing to you in this life? Is it your house? Is it your fancy car? Is it your new handbag? Or is it your fucking marriage? Without your marriage, without that family unit, if it's something you see having potential in the future, I mean, we've talked about that too. Sometimes it's better to just move on and separate. But if it's something that's important to you and sacred to you, spend the money, invest, do what you got to do to work on it.
And they have individual, intensives too. So I will actually say, like, I wouldn't mind going back and doing one just on my own because there is so much when you're ready to open up in that way. There is so much that you can find out about who you are. And so even if this is not a couples thing for you, it could just be something that you're feeling that you need in your life.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. So that's the cool thing is that this is really for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So awesome. So Thank you for sharing that with us. Cheers. Good for you guys.
It was great. But speaking of retreats, you went on a girls'
I went on an amazing girls. It was a girls' trip to celebrate a birthday. One of my, she's a sister to me, turned 40. And so we went to Sedona and celebrated her. That's what she had wanted to do. She's a very spiritual person that loves, she'd probably love to do what you guys just did. Just loves diving deep and getting in and finding the spiritual meanings in life.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. Sedona was very cool. Not only the land, it was the first time I'd ever been.
I've never been to Sedona, and it's definitely on my list.
You can look at all the pictures online, on Instagram, all of that, and you still really can't grasp the beauty of those red rocks.
Well, there's also a vibration, right, that comes from nature.
Yeah, and that would probably explain why this was the most different, unique girls trip. I've gone on lots of trips with these women. They're amazing women. It is a sisterhood. Everybody's vulnerable and shares on these trips that we go on. We usually do one a year. And this one was unique in that I felt like there was a vulnerability that was even more, like a depth that was even more. And it could be because of what you're saying, that energy that was there. And we did partake in a couple little day retreat things. One that really stood out was a hike through the Red Rocks with a guide. And she walked us up to this sacred spot and we all sat in a circle and shared things that we were trying to let go of, things that we could feel. She kind of like got us in touch with our bodies, and we had to kind of focus on like where we were feeling these emotions of the thing that we needed to let go. So everybody went around and everybody had a little something. And it's like, I know these women. I've known these women for a very long time. We know all the stories, but there was something different about that environment and the way that we were sharing it at that time. It was just so much more raw and real. And it was therapeutic. And we were actually letting the shit go. And then after we, announced what it was that we wanted to let go of, you could, like I said, feel it in that chakra part of your body where it was holding it. And you then spoke to your inner child, which I thought was very powerful.
Yeah, inner child work is
so
pretty
she
deep.
had us speak to us like we were a third person. So you were saying, I know this was hard for you. I know that as a little girl, you did not deserve to experience that, whatever it may be, And that was kind of even difficult for us to do because you want to say, I didn't deserve that. But there was something so powerful in just flipping it and actually speaking to that little girl that still lives in us. And I think that was the one retreat that all of us walked away feeling different after having experienced it. She also had us go up on top of the rock and like lay down, and there was meditation, and we picked cards that were speaking to us. Everybody gravitated toward, just picked out of a stack of cards and got something different. And it was amazing how they all applied to us in our personal lives so well. So it was magical. It was beautiful. There still was lots of mimosas and Bloody Marys involved.
Yeah. Yours was a little different than mine. I'm gonna have to do that next time.
Yeah, it was good girl
sure.
time. But even when we got back, we continued to work on things even within the group that could have been triggering, that could have brought up defenses. But we kind of worked through some little issues that, not issues, but just little things that some of the girls needed to work through and understand each other better. And it was like just really fucking awesome.
I think the big thing I'm hearing is when there's intention to do something and the intention is good, you can't go wrong because you're not coming to something in a way that's like, oh, I got to armor up for this.
Yes.
You're truly coming in like, I want to feel better. And how is that going to happen?
The intention was not to be right. It was to resolve. So that was really good.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's, I think different than, it's a very mature group of women that, that doesn't surprise me, but it did feel different in that moment.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. I love that you did that. I love that you had that experience. I love that we both kind of had these like trips around the same time and, just we're able to embody some things that on a typical day you may not have in your life, right? And so we're excited because we've also done some women's retreats over this past year, and we have a vision board retreat that we're doing at the end of January. And more to come in different ways. And I think by even experiencing these the way that we have, we bring all those into what we're providing for other people too. So it all kind of comes full circle.
Yes. We are continuing to work on ourselves all the time because there will never be a day that I have it all figured out.
No. And why would I want to? Then what?
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Exactly.
Like, how boring. Don't get me wrong. I don't love when those little like nagging things show up and I'm like, I gotta work on that.
Gotta look at me.
But when they do, it also opens doors to connect with others. And that's the part that I love the most is.
Well, I love that with your marriage retreat, there's been several women, people that I know that don't even know you directly are, asking about it. Friends of ours asking about it. It's like, it's great. If you just are open and you share the thing you're going through.
Yeah.
We're all on this journey. We're all going through so many different things. And it's so weird to me that we think we have to keep it all secret and we have to look perfect and we, have to hide the thing that actually connects us.
Right. the thing that most people are going through. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning just thinking that they have it all figured out.
No.
And I mean, there's stuff that comes up, and if only we could get connected in that space,
Yes.
like our lives, and we'd have more compassion for each other, because you know what? That's what we need right now.
I think it's funny how we think that looking perfect makes other people like us more. When in actuality, it makes them annoyed and probably a little like jealous and like
And
agitated.
There's no room to help when you think that, which is also kind of interesting. This is something I've learned over the years, because I don't know. I mean, there have been people who have said to me like, oh, you always have it figured out. Like, you know, everything seems to just be getting handled and blah, blah, blah. And so then friends have felt like there's no room for me to even help you. And I want to. Like, I think a lot of us as women have a desire to be in servitude, and especially to our friends and those we love. So I remember having a hard time with even calling and asking for help for rides for my kids, because I was just the one that did it all the time. Yeah. And then it felt like, oh my God, I'm asking for something. We're all busy. Yeah. So if I ask for this, that's, you know, I'm taking away from something else that somebody needs to do. And I think it was Brene Brown, but she always asks the question, like, is that the feeling that you have? Somebody asked this, it may not be her, but it's like, if someone was to ask you for that help, are you judging them, or are you like, yes, I get to help somebody out?
Yes.
And so why would you ever think that someone else is feeling that way when you need help, right?
We need to remember that. That is so important. I try to remind myself that when I ask for help. I don't ask for help a lot either. I think it's just the way we were raised. I mean, it's just part of our upbringing is to try to like look like we keep it all together. But I love that Gen X is a little bit unique in that we're breaking away from that, and we're like calling it. We're like, no, this isn't fucking working.
Yeah.
It's got to change.
Yeah.
Nobody's happy living like this. So, you know, bravo to Gen X. And then teaching our children to, you know, break that cycle.
Absolutely. Well, circling back to the first conversation we had about my son coming home from college, you know, he opens up to me about a lot of things. Some things I don't want to know, but some things I'm thankful that, like,
nice
glad you're being
share.
honest. Yeah. But I've even gotten him connected with other people, whether it's friends in our friend group or therapists outside of, you know, the home, because it's that feeling of sharing and being open and honest and real and getting perspectives from different people that you may also look up to. I know for me, I've always struggled with finding mentors because, and I'll be honest, I've had judgment around, well, I like this about this person. But then there's all this stuff over here that I don't know if I really like that they do. And what I've learned is that, listen, if there's an area in your life that you need to work on, maybe the person doesn't have to have all the things, but if they have this one thing right, why not learn from that one aspect, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been really intentional about trying to find a mentor, which maybe I should be, but I'm really drawn to certain people, especially podcasters. We've talked a lot about Mel Robbins. I know you and I both have a love for her.
Yes.
Her realness. She's one of the reasons I started just recording my thoughts without makeup on, looking like hell. I'm like, well, I love when she does that.
Yeah.
So you know what? I don't need to be all done up when I'm just going to be in the moment. And if I'm having this thought right now, I'm going to share it. I feel called to share.
As raw as I possibly can.
I haven't even brushed my teeth sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah,
girl,
like
good
I'm
for
not.
you.
Yeah, every part of me wanted to run and put concealer on. Don't get me wrong, but she's just given me that motivation to allow myself to be in my purest, truest form, you know, if I'm called to do so. So,
yeah. And
not today. I got the lashes on, the red lips.
Yeah, today we did it up just a little bit extra.
Which my lashes.
It's New Year's.
Yes, it's New Year's.
It's New Year's, but yes, the lash thing.
Lashes were sticking together.
I know. I chose not to have the lashes on just because I'm like, oh, freak. Like, I know it's already going to feel heavy, and then I got to deal with the stuff, and you know. But they look so beautiful. I'm glad you put the lashes on today.
They're fun. They're fun. I like getting glammed up.
Yes,
I really do. I mean, ever since I was a little girl, where's the makeup?
Part of who you are.
Yes. Yeah. Dress up. I mean, I think you're like that too.
I like that.
You don't go far without your lip gloss.
That is true. I have to have mascara and lips done every day, or else, yeah, you probably won't see me. I don't think I jump on that live or whatever without those two things. I know. Yes, but this has been so fun, like to be able to get raw a little bit and talk about, some of these things for 2024 and reflect as we did in our last podcast too, reflections of 2023.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for 2024 too.
I don't know why I just have this really good feeling like in my gut. And I don't know what that is. I do like even numbers, so I'm hoping that's not what it is. Hoping it's more than that. But I do really kind of feel it inside. So, and I work on feeling that energy that goes through my body. I think my mom taught me that years ago when I was little, because I've just sort of always had it, and I pay attention to it. Everybody has it. I've always paid attention to it.
Yeah.
So
huge.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, like that's your mom taught you
before mindfulness was a thing.
Before it was coined or whatever. I don't even know when that term came out, but
it's a good
really
one.
Taught you to embrace and somatic and intuition and all those things. That's awesome.
Feel it. Where do you feel it? Yeah. So I feel good about it. I don't know why. We don't know what the future holds.
Cheers to 2024.
Cheers to 2024.
Starting in.
And thank you to all our incredible. Oh yeah, go to. You got to take a sip.
Yes, you do.
I just have so much to say. Thank you to all of our guests that came on in 2023 and just made our podcast so incredible. I mean, we both learned so much from every guest. There are some major standout ones that just, I will never be the same after sharing space with these women.
I agree. Like, how fortunate are we? I'm just going to take a moment to be grateful, because these women are incredible in so many different ways, and their stories were unique, and they were so raw and from the heart. And some of them came to us, some we sought out. I mean, that's the beauty of all of this too. So we are just
and they're still coming to us.
They're still coming.
We still have amazing women that are reaching out to us and asking to be interviewed and be on the podcast.
Yeah, we love that. Yay.
It feels divine, and like the universe has their hands in it. And I love it, because it means we're on the right path. So.
Absolutely.
Cheers, girl.
Cheers,
I love you.
Girlfriend.
Happy New Year.
Yay.